seconds and counting. T-
Hey, what's good, yo? Welcome back to another video. It's Anish. I'm joined with Joel, and today we're going to be discussing the Rockets' summer league performance. They finished with a record of 2-3, so it seems a little bit underwhelming considering that we had Jabari, Tarry, and Tai, 3 first-round draft picks. But if you just consider the whole talent as a whole, there are some talent gaps, and we will talk about that in the video. But I think if your conclusion for the summer league is that the Rockets didn't kill the draft, then you're very mistaken, because all these guys, I personally feel, can contribute to the team at some point this season, if not immediately. I guess some of the guys might have to be sent to the G League just because there's not enough minutes on the roster right now, and maybe Stone will have to do some trades. But I think the Rockets absolutely kill this draft, and we'll start talking about the main one in Jabari Smith, the number 3 pick in the NBA draft. What surprised you about Jabari? What are your initial thoughts? And yeah, what do you think about him?
I think the hype with Jabari Smith was really, really high, given that this guy was expected to be the number 1 pick for this whole time, and then falls to number 3. I think naturally, when you go into the summer league, we saw this with Evan Mobley last year. Like, just because you have that like top pick label to your name, like that number 3 overall pick, people expect you to go out there and instantly ball out. Where for some of these guys, that's just not how they play. And I think Jabari Smith is one of those guys where like he's not going to like single-handedly produce by himself. Like that's just not who he is. This isn't a knock on Jabari Smith by any means. That's just not how he plays. Whereas if you compare it to Paolo especially, or even Chet to an extent, Jabari is easily the worst at creating his own shot out of those 3. And that showed a lot, in my opinion, over the course of the summer league, where he thrived when the rest of the team thrived, especially the point guard. So if you look at the games where Jabari Smith played well, usually it's going to be a game where it's either Ty Washington or Daishen Nix also played well, because that's what he needs to be successful. He needs a guard that could create for him, especially at the NBA level. That's what he's going to need. And I think, at least from what I did as far as my scouting on Jabari Smith, this is everything that I would have expected. For me, I'm not concerned at all with Jabari. Again, a lot of people talked about his shot making. I don't think that's going to be a major issue. Like, one thing that I would like to see him add is a little bit more arc. His shot did seem a little bit flat, which I think is just him adjusting to the NBA three-point line. If you look at the threes Jabari took in college, a lot of them are right on that college three-point line, which is obviously a little bit closer than the NBA line. I think he's just adjusting to that. I think he'll be fine over an offseason of shooting with the NBA three-point line, going through training camp over the course of the season. But yeah, if people were expecting him to go into the summer league and be the best rookie there, I think you were already setting the ceiling a little bit too high for the type of player that Jabari Smith is. But if you're going in expecting him to be pretty much a really solid 3-and-D player, I think as far as the defense goes, he's been spectacular. But yeah, he's been nothing that I would be concerned about. He hasn't been incredible, I would say, but I'm not concerned with Jabari Smith at all.
I think the jump to KPJ and Jalen Green as your guards is going to be a huge difference, like a 9-day difference for Jabari. So honestly, I'm personally not concerned, because he's going to be kind of that tertiary role, almost like in the hierarchy, like tertiary scorer maybe. So I just think that he's not going to have a lot of that burden of kind of carrying the offensive load. And just his stats over 5 games: 14.4 points per game, 9.4 rebounds, 1.8 assists, 1.6 steals, 1.8 blocks per game. His 3-point shot did seem to drop to 34%. I would just chalk that up to him kind of adjusting to like the NBA 3-point line. His field goal percentage, 39%. Again, shooting, Stone was interviewed during one of the games, and he said he's not concerned at all. He says that to show like his impact beyond just making shots in his defense is really good. And in terms of shot making, his form looks solid, just like a few minor tweaks, nothing that John Lucas can't fix maybe. But he's able to shoot over defenders. The shot went in and out. Just some cases just seemed like the basket had a lid on it. But I did like his flashes of rim protection. Like there's a highlight where he like literally went up high, pointed the ball, snatched it out of the air, and basically like kept possession of it. Showed some flashes of being a weak side rim protector. I think it's really great that Jabari is very mobile for his size. I think that also allows him to like kind of play off his man more than like you would kind of expect. And then like he provides help defense at the same time, kind of making it super hard on the other guys, like, they're basically playing 2 on 1, and then at the same time, he has really good recovery ability to contest the shots. I think many players had difficulty scoring against Jabari, like, especially inside the three-point line. I know Paulo Banchero, he scored on him, like, a few times, but, like, inside, he just had trouble, and Jabari just plays really suffocating defense. It's just you can't really go past him, really. And Silas thinks that he can play the 3, 4, and 5. That really speaks to his positional versatility. I liked his ability to stay with quicker guards, mucking up passing lanes. So I thought Jabari was kind of not as advertised, but like his defensive ability to be that good already. I guess I know it's summer league and all, but it seemed that his defensive ability will translate really, really well to the NBA. So I can definitely see a first team all like a first all team all defensive team. I don't know, I forgot the name, but yeah, that's definitely in his future. I feel so. I think Jabari. I think he played well against Chet. He like blocked him and then went like past it and kind of really I think he, like, won that side of the matchup per se, like, just, like, their head-to-head matchup, and so, yeah, I think they're
I was just gonna add that about Chet. Just the fact that I think we all knew that Jabari was gonna be a really versatile, switchable defender, but I think his defense on Chet really, really impressed me. Again, obviously Chet with his size, he's not gonna be bodying up Jabari, but still Chet does have 2, 3 inches as far as just being taller than Jabari Smith, and that's I think what I saw because again we know that he's incredible on the perimeter for his size, but his interior defense wasn't really known as much just because he's not that athletic and his instincts aren't as good as like Chet obviously. But I was really impressed with his rim protection and especially against Chet. The fact that he was blocking shots on Chet, deterring him from his jumpers, that was I think what impressed me the most about Jabari in all of summer league was the defense that he played on Chet Holmgren.
Yeah, that's a very fair point, and also along with that, I thought that, I think what the coaches wanted him to, like, try practicing was, like, him driving to the lane, and that he did try to do that, and he showed, like there's, like, a play where he just, like, does a spin move and then, like, goes to the and, like, finishes really well, and so he shows how he can use his length to maneuver around bodies and honestly, I thought his passing was underrated in general. Like he was able to do a whole full court pass to Dacian Nix for the, and he like laid it up. And so, and like just in general, he's making the right read. So I think as a connector piece, which I think what he is, like I don't think he'll ever be like the guy. I feel like Jalen's the guy, but as a connecting piece, I think he's like the perfect player for that. So I think I'm really excited for Jabari Smith and what he'll do for this team. And so speaking of the guard play, like we mentioned earlier, the backup point guard battle has been something that has been widely debated in the Rockets community, and that's between Ty Ty Washington and Dacian Nix. Stone viewed Nix very highly. He's like, "Oh, we're excited about Dacian. He's kind of an old school throwback point guard. He pushes the pace. He's the court very well." He says his basketball IQ is very high. He has an enormous body, and he's really excited about him. And that's why, sure, Dacian Nix seemed to kind of win that battle, but at the same time, I think just watching the game, it kind of gave me a different story. Like Ty Ty seemed to have better decision making, and what else did you see? Who did you think won the battle between Nix and Ty Ty?
I think Ty Ty versus Knicks is like the classic stats versus eye test type of debate where if you look at just the stats, obviously Dacia Knicks had it one up on Ty Ty in almost every category. And even like it's not even like a minutes thing. They both played really similar minutes. I'm pretty sure it was like 29 or like 30.5 for Knicks and like 29 or sorry, yeah, and like 29 for Tai Tai. So it's not really a big difference as far as minutes per game. Tai Tai did have worse stats than Knicks. But I think just watching, I feel like Ty not only just looked better, he seemed more comfortable. Like first game, he was a little bit sluggish. I feel like he just wasn't that comfortable. But in the second game onwards, I felt like he just looked more comfortable and more ready in that situation. And it's a lot of what I saw from him at Kentucky as well. Just that he's a natural point guard. He knows how to set up his teammates. And I think just the flashes that he's shown already as a rookie, I think in my opinion, gives him the one up on Knicks for a rebuilding team like the Rockets. I can see a world where Knicks opens the season as that backup point guard, but more likely than not, and probably sooner than later, Ty Washington is probably going to pick up that backup point guard role. Um, Not even just as far as like playmaking goes, I think Ty has a slight edge. But just overall, like Ty is a better athlete than Dacian Nix, and that shows in Ty's ability to create rim pressure, whether that is for a layup or a finish, or if it's just for setting up his teammates. We saw so many plays with him driving inside. I remember one play, drive to the inside and kicks it out to Tarry Easton for a corner three. And it's just things that because Ty just has a little bit more burst, a little bit more quickness to get to the paint and put that pressure on the defense that Dacian Nix just doesn't have. Like again, I've heard reports that he's working on his body, working on being more athletic. But even after that, I still think that Ty has the edge as far as athleticism wise, just speed, quickness, getting to the rim. And for Dacian Nix to really be successful or have a role in the rotation, I think he's going to have to find a way for his 3 point shot to fall. And we saw that a little bit in the Summer League. Still not there yet, obviously, but I think it's going to be an interesting battle. I think Ty also has a slight edge as far as shooting goes. I think his mechanics are better. He just has more rhythm in his shot. Um, I think just in general, Ty won it in my eyes. Dacian did have really one really good game, but I think overall Ty had a better summer league, even though the stats don't say it. And I do think that probably around like midway through the season, he's gonna take over that like backup point guard role. I think he's gonna like hold on to it after he does win that role eventually.
Yeah, like Knicks, he like to me, he had his moments where he made a really nice play, a really nice pass. But then again, it kind of seemed like he was going for like the flashy play instead of like the right play at times. And whereas Ty was kind of the opposite, and you could see that I think Knicks had like twice as much like turnovers per assist or that ratio. So I know the stats for the summer league are kind of like messed up, but I think that's what it was. So I think just all in all, just defense, playmaking, just decision making, I would say like agree with you for Ty. And does Ty's game like remind you of a certain player in the NBA? In terms of like his floater, like Ty seemed to show a good floater, shows floater capabilities, and like you mentioned, his jumper had like a lot of rhythm with it. Does he remind you of anyone in the league?
He's pretty unique as far as just the way that he plays. Some things that I can see in him, it is pretty tough because offensively, his passing IQ is really, really high already at this age. And on defense, he's solid. Again, a lot of people were labeling him like this, like two-way, like point guard type of thing. He's definitely not in the same tier defensively as Tarry Easton and Jabari Smith, but he's solid. Um, if I have to give a comparison right now, I would say maybe the like a prime Bledsoe type of thing, where he can be really, really solid defensively and also provide some offense. Again, I feel like Eric Bledsoe's gotten a bit of a bad rep because of how he's played over the past few years, but when he was in his prime, he was a very solid contributor on the Milwaukee Bucks team. I think like ceiling wise, I think you're looking at maybe like a Drew Holiday, possibly. As a ceiling, might be pushing it, honestly. But it's that same kind of like natural, like a point guard type of role where he can provide some solid defense. And again, like there's again, a lot of people know that he has had John Wall as his mentor for a few years now, and it's definitely rubbing off on him. You can just in the way that he plays, just his passing IQ and just his defensive energy are both things that like you can see the John Wall influence rubbing off on him. Not saying that he's John Wall, obviously, but that influence is definitely there. Just the way that he plays and the effort that he brings on both sides of the ball. Again, I really like Ty Washington. I felt like he could have been a candidate at the 17th pick. So the fact that we got him at 29 is just incredible. And again, I feel like everything that I've believed in him has been backed up over the way that he's played in the summer league.
Yeah, and speaking of the 17th pick, Tarry Easton looking like the steal of the draft. He made all summer league first team, and it's just been incredible. Just like stats wise, let me read it out to you. He had 17.2 points per game, 10.4 rebounds per game. I believe that's first in all of the summer league. Yeah, and Jabari Smith was actually sixth with 9.4 boards per contest. And also, Tari Eason, he had 1.6 assists per game, 1.8 steals, 1 block per game. Shot 34% from three, which was kind of a concern, like whether or not he'd be consistent with it. And he had 79% for the free throw percentage, which kind of is like an indication of whether or not they have good shooting mechanics. And so I think Tari Eason, he shocked everyone as to like I think a lot of people knew he was gonna be good, but not this good. What did Tari Eason show to you?
Um, I went into the summer league being kind of like moderate on Tari Eason. Like I was a lot cooler on him than people who were like dubbing him like a potential like two-way superstar. But after the summer league, I completely buy into like all of the Tari Eason stocks. Like I am like going all in on Tari Eason. I think what he's shown, not just in the way that he plays, but like just how hard he plays, it's gonna be like almost impossible for him to not be at least like a starting caliber player, in my opinion. Just the skill set that he brings, and the combination of athleticism, effort, and just a feel for the game that I think a lot of people were not noting going into the draft. Um, he looks to me a lot more ready than even like the brightest expectations could have been for him. Like he looks ready to start. I'm pretty sure like we'll talk about this later probably, but he looks ready to start at that small forward role in my opinion. Um there were times where honestly like a lot of the time where Tari Eason was probably the best rookie for our team. And with the skill set that he brings, with his defensive versatility, uh, just his offensive like transition, he's gonna be incredible, man. Like I have like bought into Tari Easton entirely. I was not that high on him after the draft, but yeah, I mean, he's been absolutely incredible. I remember one play against Portland, and I'm pretty sure you probably remember this as well, where it was like Tari was in the corner. He had no business being in this play. Um, it's just a quick little skip pass from 145 to the other, and Tari Easton comes all the way from the corner, jumps that passing lane, and then gets the steal to go down to the other end for a layup. I'm not sure if he made it or missed it. I feel like he might have missed it, but again, that defensive hustle going from again, like I said, he had no business being in that play whatsoever, but just getting in that passing lane, um, that's not something that, like, with all due respect, Jayshawn Tate and Eric Gordon are not making that play. That's a play that I think only Tari Eason and Jabari Smith can do on this roster. Um, and he did it. I think that's like the play. Like if you had to summarize Tari Eason Summer League in one play, that's the play that I would show. He was flat out incredible, and it showed in the fact that he was named to the All Summer League first team.
And he deservedly earned the nickname Tari Ferrari, which is like how fast he is, like in transition. He's just a blur almost, and so his athleticism was on display. I loved how electric his dunks are. You can like hear it from through the screen. It was pretty awesome. Like you mentioned, he's super great defensively. I like always making like the right decisions. Like also like passing. Like I know that wasn't like something that he displayed a lot, but like when like that was a weakness coming out of the draft was his decision making. And there weren't any like plays that stood out to me like that were head scratching like Tari, why'd you do that? Like that didn't happen. So I think Tari, he's showing a lot of promise. I loved how he made like the right cuts. He made himself available. He wasn't like oh, like just standing still, kind of what you saw in the Rockets this past season, just like guys just standing still, just ISOing and then like shot chucking up and then just like rinse and repeat. I think Tari Easton was really trying to make the play happen no matter what. He was just hustling. I think, yeah, if you had to describe Tari Easton, it would be hustle to me. And yeah, so he's been absolutely amazing. Super excited for him, like all the other two rookies as well. And let's talk about Josh Christopher for a little bit. He was the one kind of returning like Rockets player, Rockets rookie from last season that did play. Usman Guru was expected to play, but he did get injured. I believe he had an ankle injury. So he was expected to play, like he was expected to miss like the first few games, but expected to come back. But he ended up not playing the whole summer league. So that is kind of concerning, maybe. Who knows? But Josh Christopher, he like scoring wise, he did his job. I mean, 19.7 points per game, had three assists per game, 1.7 steals, 1.7 blocks, was a +9 from the court. But for some reason, he left with a negative opinion among the fans after compared to like entering the summer league. Some say that he hogged the ball too much. And I believe that that should have been something he could have been working on, like playmaking. But I think scoring wise, he did show a lot of more confidence that I like from Josh Christopher. So what did you see from Josh Christopher? He was like benched after the first two games, but what did you see from him?
Um, First of all, I think I just want to quickly touch on Garuba because I know you were talking about him for a little bit. Um, Again, his injury issue is a little bit concerning, but I wouldn't overblow it. Obviously, you would have loved to see him play just to see what he's worked on, just to see what he's got. But I'm not too concerned. It's better that he sits out the summer league than rushes a return and injures it for a meaningless summer league game when he's probably going to be a contributor in the rotation next year. But yeah, going back to Josh Christopher and what he brought over his first two games, I think the Josh Christopher that we saw in these two games was like AAU high school Josh Christopher. Just that aggressive, like highlight seeking, walking highlight reel, or at least trying to be a walking highlight reel over those first two games. And there were some points when it was working, it was good to see, but when it wasn't, which was more often than not, it was just kind of painful to see when there were pretty clearly better options on the board. And I think what this does for me is this justifies having drafted Ty Washington to be that backup point guard. I know there were some people saying, "Oh, we don't need a backup point guard. Josh Christopher can be that guy," and I think it's pretty clear after the summer league that I just don't think that that's the role that he's cut out for. Like he can be maybe like a secondary facilitator with the second unit, and we saw that a little bit. We saw him like at least trying to um, help out his teammates, trying to make the right play. But I think his instincts took over after a while, and in his defense, I think there was a little bit of pressure on him for him being, one of the. I mean, after Garuba sat out, he was the only second year player on that summer league roster. So I feel like he felt a little bit of pressure to be the scoring guy, the number one option, and I think that kind of shows that I think Christopher's role in the future is more of the backup two guard or just a six man rather than like the straight backup point guard role, which obviously is what you have Ty Washington for. I've seen some people completely do like a straight 180 and like get this guy off my team type of thing. I think that's a bit of a stretch. He's still a really, really good defender. He's still really active, and he's obviously still a nuclear athlete. Um, and he still has just insane shot creation ability, which I think is more than enough to keep him around and give him a very decent chunk of minutes. But for anyone who is expecting him to be a potential backup point guard, it's not happening, and I think he's going to be a very like solid backup like two guard because the playmaking I just don't see that coming along enough for him to be anything close to a facilitator for the second unit.
And like one thing as fans is like we don't know what like the coaches like told him to go out there and do. Like who knows? Like they said like Josh, just go do your thing to score or whatnot. Like well, who knows? Like we don't know what's going on behind the scenes. And honestly, I don't think we won a single game after Josh got benched. So he was pretty vital in keeping our scoring streak, like keeping our runs alive. He also brought a lot of energy in Josh. He's always been like that defensive communicator, that spark plug off the bench. So I think like he is a crucial part of this team, and his like contribution shouldn't be forgotten, despite of like some of his flaws that he did show in the summer league. But just to wrap up the video, were there any other players that stood out to you that showed promise? A lot of people had some praise for Holman, the to like number 35 to be possibly a backup center for us, or did Hudgens impress you, or were there any other players that you saw that showed promise, or any other players you saw that like, dude, this guy does not deserve to be on the roster? Hint, hint, land.
I would say I would have liked to see more Eric Coleman minutes. I think what he showed was pretty promising. The guy who they were playing like starting after Christopher went out, I'm pretty sure Trey Mitchell. I think that was more for fit reasons, more than him just being the best player out of the guys that they signed. He was solid in the minutes as well. And Hudgens, I actually liked Hudgens a lot more. I feel like people kind of like saw him fly under the radar a little bit. I think with some development in the G League, he can be something. I think his shooting stroke is really nice. He does have good mechanic for the shot. There remains to be see what else he can bring to the table. But again, in the modern NBA, if you can get a consistent 3 point shot, that is like the best ticket that you can get to at least getting a chance in the NBA. After that, anything else you can develop and you'll probably be fine. I think giving him a season in the G League will be really, really good for his development. I would have liked to see Eric Coleman more, like I said, but again, besides that, no one else that we just signed for the summer league really impressed me enough to really give them a shot at the roster or anything like that.
Yeah, and with Hudgens kind of being like more undersized at 6 foot, I thought he showed like pretty good defensive abilities. Like he like had good shot contests, like he was pretty agile, like good lateral quickness. So I thought he was pretty good. I thought it was kind of a little surprising to me that he didn't get more praise on like from what I've seen on social media or whatnot. But I think he could be intriguing. Silas says that we need some two-way players, so he could be a candidate for that. A guy that I was alluding to earlier was Anthony Lamb. I don't think he deserves a spot on the roster at all. I mean, I don't know what the front office sees in him, but he's someone who's got to go. I mean, he like for one good play, he made like five bad plays. So like, I mean, yeah. But that's pretty much it for the video. Let us know your thoughts on the summer league. How do you think the Rockets did? What are your thoughts on our rookies? And as always, be sure to like, subscribe, and turn on post notifications. Thank you for watching. Peace.